All right, so the first thing we want to understand is what people believe. The next thing we want to understand is why do they believe it? Traditionally, there are three ways of looking at why people believe what they believe: logos, which is logic; pathos, which is emotion; and ethos, which is authority. Logos is when you believe something because it makes sense intellectually or logically. I drive a silver Honda CRV, and one time this guy asked me what kind of car I drive, and I said a silver Honda CRV, and he said, "Oh, that's the most boring car in the world," and I said, "Yeah, exactly." Because that's what I love about my car, right? He says boring, I think low maintenance, dependable, cheap. That's what I like about it. When I was buying a car, I had a criteria, a list of things that I wanted for the activities that I enjoy. So I wanted something with enough cargo space for camping. I wanted something with all-wheel drive so I could take it skiing, and then cheap and dependable. Um, that's why I bought my car. The CRV ticked those boxes. Logically, it made sense for me to buy that car. Logically, that car matched with what my expectations were. So that's logos, is logic. The next reason people believe what they believe is pathos, and that's emotion. So I bought my CRV out of logic. I bought my motorcycle out of pathos. When I tell people I drive a motorcycle, they go, "Oh, don't you know that's dangerous?" And I go, "Yeah, that's why I bought it." I didn't buy a motorcycle because I was like, "Oh, this is a thoughtful decision financially and for my health." I bought a motorcycle because I rode a motorcycle and was like, "That is fun. I want to do that more." It was a completely emotional decision. Terrorism utilizes pathos. When terrorists blow up a bus full of civilians, people aren't like, "Oh, that's a well-reasoned argument." It's they're trying to scare people out of it, right? That if you go to war with us, we're going to kill your children, or whatever it is. If you take this stance, we're going to kill your children, and it's trying to scare people out of their perspective, not logic them out of it. So we really look down upon pathos in Western society, which I have a lot of. I think it's bad that we look down upon it. But in reality, almost all of our beliefs and decisions involve some element of pathos. And I would go so far as to say most of your small decisions throughout the day are made almost entirely for emotional reasons. Big picture stuff we're better about kind of intellectually planning things out, but day to day when we're in the thick of it, we're often just driven by our instincts, by our emotions. Let me give you an example. I don't know anything about wine, so whenever I go to a potluck and people are like, "Oh, bring a bottle of wine," I'll go to Whole Foods and I'll pick the price range that I want, and then I'll pick based on which one has the coolest label, right? I'll pick based on which one has the emotional appeal to me. And I know that seems really silly, but that's the reason they spend so much money on label design, or why there's so many cool different bottles to put whiskey in. People are drawn to these things. It creates an emotional reaction, which guides our decisions. When people suffer damage to the emotional part of their brain, they have trouble with these types of day-to-day decisions. They can still make big decisions like where should I invest my 401k money, because that's a logically driven decision. And they're bad at making these day-to-day decisions because they're not going to sit there and compare every 15 different bottles of wine to figure out which one actually logically is the best. You need to make a gut decision at some point. Logos is logic, pathos is emotion. The next thing we'll talk about is ethos, and that's authority. So in business, we refer to ethos as branding. If you ever buy, a North Face jacket because you think North Face is a good brand, that's ethos. You haven't looked into the jacket specifically, but North Face has this reputation for being a high quality product, so that's what you buy. One of the most common examples of ethos is peer pressure. Do it because everyone else does it. The authority of the crowd. Ethos can arise because you like someone, so we don't think that Beyonce has any special palate powers where she's really good at deciding what is the best soda. We like Beyonce, so we go, "Oh, Beyonce likes Pepsi, I should like Pepsi." Ethos can also arise from culture. So, 10, 15 years ago, when gay marriage was a very controversial topic in the United States, a lot of the people who were against gay marriage would argue that I'm for traditional marriage. They weren't arguing that traditional marriage was better. They were just saying it's traditional. So that would be an example of ethos. They're appealing to the authority of culture, the authority of tradition. And then lastly, ethos can arise from expertise. So I understand climate change in the very broadest way. If you come and challenge me about climate change, I cannot probably win that argument. But I don't care because there are 97% of climate scientists believe in climate change and believe that it's caused by humans. So that's good enough for me. I'm not going to take all the time to figure out climate science, to read all the academic journal articles. I mean, it would literally, I would have to devote my entire life to understanding climate science, and I'm not going to do it. What I'm going to do is say, hey, there's someone way smarter than me who studied this way more than me, and they think that climate change is a real thing and that it's caused by humans. I'm going to defer to their authority. Anytime you take your car into a mechanic, you are deferring to authority based on expertise, right? You're not going to argue with your mechanic about what needs to be done to your car. You're going to believe their opinion. You're paying them for their opinion. You're paying them for their ethos, for their expertise. So the first thing we want to figure out is what people believe, and then we want to figure out why they believe it. And people usually have three reasons for believing what they believe: logos, which is logic; pathos, which is emotion; and ethos, which is authority. Now, I've presented this in a way where it's like clean cut, right? Where it's like, oh, people believe this because of logos or pathos or ethos. In reality, we often have very complex reasons for believing what we believe, and our beliefs are usually based on a web of ethos, pathos, and logos. So I use the example of buying my CRV as a logical decision, and it was largely a logical decision, but it was also an ethos decision. I'd heard very good things about Honda as a good brand, and so there was an aspect of branding, of ethos there. So it wasn't just logos, it was these other things driving it. Oh, and there was pathos as well. Like a lot of it was, I haven't taken my CRV skiing once. I bought a car that I could take skiing because I had so much fun skiing with all my friends when I was in Colorado, and I haven't done that since I moved out to California. But that idea of it was a very much emotional draw to buying a car that I could take skiing. It's got all-wheel drive. It's a beast.